The fortress of Lord Vexar stood like a giant metal monster on the edge of a dead moon. Its towers were sharp like broken teeth, and the air around it was always filled with a cold, metallic smell. Inside its dark hallways, thousands of feet moved every hour, but almost none belonged to free people. Rella was one of them. She was a thrall, a private servant owned by Lord Vexar since she was a child. She did not remember her parents, her home, or even her real name. Vexar gave her this name because it was easy to speak and easy to command. Her life was simple and painful. Every day she cleaned Vexar's chamber, carried heavy crates across the cold floors, or stood silently beside him during meetings with guests whose faces scared her. No one ever looked at her with kindness. Some did not look at her at all. To them, she was not a person, only a tool. Rella moved like a shadow, thin, quiet, almost invisible. Her skin was pale from the lack of sunlight, and her eyes always stayed low. She had learned long ago that eye contact made the nobles angry. Her back carried the marks of past punishments, and her hands were full of small wounds from her daily work. Still, she never cried. Not anymore. Tears had no use here. The fortress ran on strict rules. Each thrall knew their time, their place, their limits. Rella slept in a small stone cell with only a blanket and a dim lamp that flickered at night. She always woke before dawn so she could finish her tasks before Vexar woke. She did not dream of freedom. She did not even know what freedom felt like. All she had was survival. But today was different. Something in the fortress felt strange as soon as she stepped into the hallway. The guards were tense. The workers whispered. Even the air itself felt heavier. Rella kept her head down, but she listened. Thralls often learned more from silence than nobles learned from speaking. "Did you hear?" one guard muttered in a low voice. "A human is coming." Rella froze for a moment. A human? She had never seen one. She only heard the stories. Some said humans were dangerous warriors. Others said they were strange creatures who fought impossible wars. And some said that the humans were the only species who refused to follow the old laws of slavery. She wondered which story was true. As she swept the hallway, she heard another voice. "Lord Vexar is furious. He was not informed that the human ambassador is arriving early." Rella could imagine Vexar's anger. He was a powerful noble, feared through many systems. He hated surprises, especially ones he could not control. She kept working, but her mind kept replaying the word human. It felt new and sharp inside her thoughts. She did not know why it mattered, but something about it made her heart beat faster. Later that day, Vexar entered the hall with loud steps. His long cloak dragged behind him, and his eyes were full of anger. Rella stood quietly beside the door, keeping as far from him as possible. "Prepare the chamber. The human must be shown proper respect." Rella nodded and rushed to complete the tasks. She cleaned the table, arranged the lights, and placed the metallic cups in the right order. Her hands moved quickly and perfectly. Mistakes cost pain. Mistakes cost blood. When the hall was ready, she stepped aside. Her role was to stand silently, unseen, like a piece of furniture. A loud metallic sound echoed through the fortress. The visitor had arrived. The doors opened, and Rella lifted her eyes just enough to see. A man stepped into the hall. A human. His steps were calm, confident, but not arrogant. He had a strong build, not huge like the alien guards, but powerful in a different way. His eyes were sharp and full of awareness, as if he could see every corner of the room at once. For 1 second, he felt his eyes pass over her. Not harsh, not demanding, simply noticing. It was the first time anyone had looked at her like she was real. Vexar walked forward with a forced smile. "Welcome, Commander Jace Morgan. We did not expect your arrival today." Jace nodded. "I know. That is why I am here." His voice was steady. Rella had never heard a voice like that before. Calm but dangerous, gentle but strong, and for the first time in years, she felt a small spark of curiosity. The meeting began. Vexar talked about alliances and trade routes. Jace listened with clear patience. But every time he looked around the room, Rella felt something move inside her chest. Then it happened. Jace's eyes landed on the marks on her wrists, the old scars, the collar she wore.
His expression changed. It was a look she had never seen before, anger, but not directed at her. Jace slowly asked, "Is she a slave?" The room froze. Vexar narrowed his eyes. "She is my thrall, a personal one. It is normal." Jace shook his head. "Not for humans." Rella's breath caught in her throat. She had never heard anyone challenge Vexar, and certainly not someone doing it for her. Vexar's voice grew sharp. "Human, do not question my property." Jace stepped forward, not afraid. "She is not property." Rella felt her legs weaken. No one had ever spoken those words in her lifetime. Before Vexar could respond, a guard rushed in. "My lord, the lower sector alarms just activated." Vexar turned away for a moment, angry and distracted. Rella looked up, and to her shock, Jace was looking directly at her. His voice was low, only for her. "This is wrong," he whispered. "I'll fix it." Rella felt the impossible, a feeling she had forgotten existed. Hope. And she had no idea that this moment would change her entire destiny.
The alarms continued to echo through the fortress, red lights flashing across the high walls like angry eyes. Guards ran in every direction, shouting orders and trying to understand what caused the sudden alert. Rella stood still, but inside she was shaking. She had lived here her whole life, and she knew one truth better than anything else. Alarms always meant danger for thralls. When something went wrong, someone innocent paid the cost. Lord Vexar growled at the guard, "Find the cause now." Then he turned sharply back to Jace Morgan, ready to continue their meeting. But the human was no longer interested in trade routes or power deals. His attention kept returning to Rella, and every time his eyes landed on her, she felt something she had never felt before: safety. A strange, impossible feeling inside these dark walls. Vexar finally noticed the human's distraction and snapped, "Ignore her! She is nothing!" Jace's jaw tightened. His voice turned cold. "She is someone." Vexar's face twisted with anger. "Humans think too highly of slaves. That is your flaw." "Or your weakness," Jace replied, calm but sharp. The whole hall went silent. Guards froze near the door, afraid to even breathe. No one talked to Lord Vexar like this. No one stood equal to him in his own fortress. But this human did. Rella watched from the corner, her heart beating too fast. She didn't understand everything they were discussing, but she understood one thing clearly. Jace Morgan did not fear Vexar. That alone made him the most dangerous person she had ever seen. Finally, Vexar forced a smile that looked more like a threat. "Come, human, let us continue in the strategy room." Jace didn't move. Instead, he pointed at Rella. "She comes with us." For a moment, time stopped. Even the lights seemed to freeze mid-blink. Vexar stared at him, stunned. "Why?" Jace shrugged. "If she is only a thrall, she has no secrets. Let her serve the drinks." The lie was simple, but Rella understood its meaning. He wanted her near him. Close enough for something? Close enough to protect? Close enough to save? She didn't know. She didn't dare believe anything yet. Vexar thought for a moment, then waved his hand. "Fine, she can follow." Rella lowered her head and stepped behind them. Every part of her body was tense. Every step felt heavy. But somewhere inside her chest, something warm pushed her forward. They entered the strategy room, a large chamber filled with floating screens and glowing maps of star systems. Rella stood near the wall, quiet like always. Vexar began explaining military routes and trade corridors, speaking proudly about his power. But Jace was barely listening now. His eyes kept drifting toward the scars on Rella's hands, the metal collar around her throat, the way she flinched every time someone raised their voice. Finally, he asked, "How many thralls are held in this fortress?" Vexar looked annoyed. "Thousands." "And all of them are treated like this?" Jace asked, pointing at Rella. Vexar's voice grew colder. "You are a guest, human. Do not question our laws." Jace leaned back in his seat.
Maybe the galaxy needs new laws. That sentence made Vexar rise from his chair. His cloak swung behind him like a shadow. Do not threaten me. Jay stood too, slow and steady. I don't threaten. I warn. The tension crackled like electricity. Then suddenly, the lights died. The screens shut off. The entire fortress went dark. A deep, robotic voice echoed through the halls. Power grid failure. Emergency system active. Rella felt her breath catch. This had never happened before. Vexar shouted, "What is happening?" Jace looked calm, too calm. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small handheld device. It glowed faintly blue. Rella realized something shocking. This blackout was not an accident. It was caused by him. "Human!" Vexar roared. "What have you done?" Jace stepped toward him, face unreadable. "You said she is nothing," he said softly, "but I see something different." Vexar's guards rushed inside, ready to attack. Rella backed away, terrified, but unable to look away. Jace turned slightly toward her, his voice low, controlled. "Rella, I am not your enemy." Her name! He used her name. No one had ever spoken it with respect before, not once in her life. The guards moved forward, weapons raised. Rella waited for Jace to fight back, to draw a weapon, to defend himself. Instead, he dropped the glowing device. It hit the floor with a soft metallic sound. At first, nothing happened. Then, the device hummed, and a wave of blue light spread across the room. Every guard collapsed instantly. Not dead, but unconscious. Their armor shut down, their weapons fell. Vexar stumbled backward, shocked. "What is this sorcery?" Jace didn't answer him. He turned to Rella instead, his voice low, controlled. "Rella, I am not your enemy." Rella froze. Her hands shook. Her heart raced. Freedom was a word she didn't understand. Escape was a dream she didn't believe. Jace held out his hand, not forcing, not commanding, just offering. For the first time in her entire life, someone waited for her choice. Outside the room, more footsteps echoed, more guards, more danger. Rella looked at his hand and finally took a step toward it. And the moment her fingers touched his, everything changed.
Rella's hand trembled as it touched Jace's. Her fingers were cold, thin, and weak, but the moment they connected, Jace felt her fear like a pulse. She had never chosen anything in her life. This was her first choice. And it was a dangerous one. Jace tightened his grip gently. "Stay close," he whispered. Before Rella could respond, shouting echoed from the hallway. More guards were coming, heavy armored boots hitting the metal floor like thunder. Vexar's voice roared behind them. "Stop them! Do not let the human escape with my property!" Jace pulled Rella toward the door, moving fast but controlled. The emergency lights flickered red and white, making every corridor look like a living nightmare. Rella followed, her breathing sharp and fast. She had never walked these halls her whole life, but she had never run through them, never disobeyed orders. Her legs felt like they belonged to someone else. Why help me?" she whispered between breaths. Jace glanced back at her. "Because you deserve better." Rella didn't understand, but the warmth in his voice pushed her forward. 2 guards appeared at the end of the hallway, aiming their weapons. Jace pulled a small circular disc from his belt and threw it forward. The disc flashed white. Boom! A shockwave exploded through the corridor, knocking the guards unconscious, but leaving Rella and Jace unharmed. Rella's eyes widened. "How did you—" "Human tech," Jace said with a short smile. "Your master hates it." Behind them, more alarms activated. "Intruder alert! Human presence unauthorized!" The fortress seemed alive now, angry, trying to trap them. Doors slammed shut, halls shifted, large metal barriers dropped from the ceiling. Rella panicked. "There is no way out! They will catch us!" Jace stopped in front of a locked stairway door and placed his palm on a small device. The door clicked, hissed, and slid open.
revealing a dark passage. "Not today," he said. "I planned for this." Rella stared at him, shocked. You planned to take me?" Jace paused, his voice softer. "I came here to expose Vexar's crimes. I didn't know I would find you, but once I saw you, I couldn't leave you here." Her chest tightened. The truth was simple, but it felt unreal. Why would someone risk their life for her? Inside the stairway, the sound of running guards grew louder behind them. Rella grabbed Jace's sleeve, frightened. "They're close." Jace guided her down the stairs. "Just a little more." But halfway down, a huge metal door slammed shut below them, sealing the lower passage. Rella gasped, "We're trapped." Jace looked at the door, then at the wall beside it. He pressed a hidden button on his wristband. A thin blue laser drew a perfect circle into the metal wall. He kicked it out, creating a small escape hole. "Go through," he told her. Rella froze. "I can't fit." "Yes, you can," he insisted. "Trust me." Trust, a word she had never used in her life. She crawled through the opening, her arms shaking. Jace followed behind, blocking the view of the guards entering the stairway above. Energy bolts flew past him, sparks filling the air. Rella reached the other side and waited, terrified. "Jace!" He slid through the opening, just as a bolt hit the wall behind him. He landed beside her, breathing hard. "That was close," he said with a grin. Rella didn't smile, but relief washed over her face. They continued through a narrow service tunnel, crawling and stumbling through cables and dust. Rella asked, "Where are we going?" "To the docking bay," Jace answered. "My ship is there." Rella had never seen a human ship. She had only heard that human vessels were fast, sharp, and smarter than most alien crafts. But she didn't know if they would reach it alive. When they exited the tunnel, they entered a massive hangar filled with ships, small fighters, cargo haulers, and armored transports. Guards raced across the metal floors, searching every corner. Rella tensed. "There are too many." Jace placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "Just follow me." He tapped a button on his wristband. A sleek black ship in the corner flashed its lights twice. A voice came from its speakers, calm and robotic. "Welcome back, Commander Morgan. Should I prepare for departure?" Rella flinched at the voice, but Jace nodded. "Yes, open the ramp." The ship lowered a ramp quietly, but as they started running toward it, a thunderous sound shook the entire hangar. A shadow blocked the light. A massive alien warship appeared outside the energy shield, its cannons pointed directly at the base. Rella stumbled, fear gripping her heart. "What is that?" Jace's expression darkened. "Vexar's flagship. He's trying to stop us." The warship aimed its weapons. The fortress alarm screamed louder than ever. Rella whispered, voice trembling, "Jace, we will die." He squeezed her hand. "No, not while I'm here." He pulled her toward the ship as explosions began shaking the hangar floor. Guards shouted, ships roared, lights flickered. Behind them, the sky outside turned red with fire, and the gate to freedom narrowed with every second. But Jace didn't stop running, and Rella, for the first time, didn't stop believing. The hangar shook again as explosions struck the fortress walls. Heat waves rolled through the air and pieces of metal fell from the ceiling. Rella stumbled, but Jace held her steady, guiding her across the chaotic floor toward his ship. Behind them, Vexar's voice echoed through the loudspeakers, full of rage. "Stop the human! Bring the Thrall back alive!" Alive. To Vexar, that was enough. He didn't care if she suffered. He didn't care if she bled. He only cared about control. Rella's heart raced as she and Jace reached the ramp. Laser fire streaked past them like burning lines. One shot hit the ground near her foot, sending sparks into the air. She flinched and cried out softly. Jace placed a hand on her back, pushing her forward gently. "Inside, Rella! Go!" She ran up the ramp, her legs weak but moving as fast as they could. The ship's interior lights glowed blue, bright but calm. It felt strange. Clean, warm, alive. Nothing like the cold stone and metal of the fortress she grew up in. Jace ran in behind her and shouted, "AI, seal the ramp!" The AI responded instantly. "Ramp closing, Commander!" The heavy door slammed shut, silencing the chaos outside, but Rella still heard the distant, muffled thunder of explosions. She stood in the middle of the ship, shaking from head to toe. Jace stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You're safe now." Rella shook her head. "No! Vexar will follow. He always does. He will try, but he won't win." The ship vibrated as the engines powered up. Blue light flowed across the walls like moving water. The AI spoke again. "Departure path blocked by external warship. Recommend evasive maneuvers." Jace took the pilot's seat, hands moving fast across the controls. Rella stood behind him, unable to sit, her nerves too tight. She clutched the back of his chair like it was the only solid thing in the galaxy. "AI, raise the shield," Jace ordered. "Shield activated." Through the front window, Rella saw Vexar's enormous flagship charging its cannons. The sight made her stomach twist. "Jace!" she whispered. "It's too big! They will destroy us!" Jace didn't look away from the controls. "Not if we move first." The cannons fired. Two massive beams of red energy shot toward them like burning spears. The ship jolted as Jace pulled the controls sharply. The human vessel spun to the side, the beams missing by inches. Relic grabbed the chair tighter, her breath breaking, but Jace stayed calm, like he had done this 1,000 times. "AI, analyze firing pattern." "Pattern calculated. Enemy cannons require 6 seconds to recharge." "That's our window," Jace said. "Hold on, Rella." He pushed the ship upward and then dove forward, slipping through the chaos of the battle. Smaller enemy ships launched from the fortress, trying to intercept them. Rella's voice trembled. "They're everywhere!" "Yes," Jace said, "but we only need to break through once." The ship shook as enemy fire hit the shields. Blue sparks danced across the windows. Rella closed her eyes, her heart pounding in fear. Then Jace spoke again, softer this time. "Rella? Look at me." She slowly opened her eyes. Jace glanced back only for a second, but in that second she saw something she didn't expect. Not fear, not anger, but certainty. "You're going to be all right," he said gently. "I promise." No one had promised her anything before. Promises did not exist in the fortress. Only orders, only punishment, only silence. Her voice cracked. "Why do you care? You don't even know me." Jace sighed softly, guiding the ship through a tight gap between two enemy fighters. He said, "I know enough. I know you were hurt. I know you were trapped. I know you deserved a life you never got." Rella looked down at her hands, thin, scarred, trembling. I don't know what to do now," she whispered. "Anything," Jace said. "For the first time, you can choose." She swallowed hard, her throat tight. "Choose?" The word felt strange on her tongue, like it didn't belong to her. Jace nodded. "You decide your future now, not Vexar, not anyone else." The ship shook again as they left the moon's orbit and entered open space. The stars stretched like silver lines as the engines hit full speed. The danger was still behind them, but for the first time in her life, danger didn't feel final. It felt like a storm passing, not a prison closing. Rella stepped closer to Jace's seat, her voice soft. "What happens to me now?" Jace looked up at her, his expression warm despite the battle outside. He said, "That depends on what you want, but no matter what, you're free." Free, a word she never lived, a word she never imagined, a word she never thought she could hold. Rella closed her eyes for a moment, letting the meaning settle in her heart. Freedom felt heavy, but warm. Scary, but real. She looked at Jace again, her voice trembling but brave. "Then, stay with me," she whispered. "Just for now, until I understand this new life." Jace smiled, a real smile, gentle and human. "I'm not going anywhere. You're safe with me." For the first time in her existence, Rella believed it. And somewhere far behind them, Vexar roared in anger.
because his thrall was gone, and her destiny was no longer under his control.
The night around Eric's felt heavier than before. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, watching him from every side. He walked slowly through the broken metal corridor, each step echoing like a warning. Behind him, the old survivor woman stopped suddenly. Her eyes narrowed, her breath shaking. "Eric's, something is wrong here," she whispered. But the air was already telling him the same thing. The deeper they moved, the colder the world became. Their breaths became white mist, drifting through the air like tiny ghosts. Eric's felt a strange pull inside his chest, a voice calling him without words. Suddenly, the metal walls began to hum, not like machines, not like engines, but like something alive trying to speak. The woman grabbed Eric's arm, her nails digging into his skin. "This place is not abandoned," she said in fear. "It is waiting." Eric stopped and listened. Then he heard it too, a heartbeat, slow and powerful, echoing through the structure. Not human, not machine, something ancient, something that had been asleep for a long time. Eric knew he should turn back. He knew he should run. But the message he carried, his mission, pushed him forward. His legs moved even when his fear told him to stop. He felt eyes on his back, cold and curious. Ahead of them, a large round door opened by itself. No switch, no code. It slid away like it had been expecting them. Inside was a dark chamber, lit only by a single blue light in the center. The woman shook her head. "We should not go inside," she whispered. But Eric took one step forward, then another. The blue light began to rise. Not mechanical, not artificial. It floated, alive, like a glowing heart. It pulsed with a rhythm that matched the heartbeat in the walls. And then it spoke inside Eric's mind, not in words, but in emotion. Pain, loneliness, hunger. Eric fell to his knees, holding his head. The survivor woman screamed his name, but she could not reach him. A strong, invisible force kept her back like she was trapped behind a wall of air. The blue light pulsed harder. The whole chamber vibrated. The floor cracked under Eric's hands. The air around him heated until his skin felt like fire. Suddenly, images flashed inside his mind. A city burning, a giant creature falling, a dark sky breaking open, a hand reaching out of the fire, his own hand, but older, covered in scars he did not yet have. Eric gasped, pulling away from the vision. The blue light dimmed, but did not disappear. It floated closer to him, almost gentle now, almost curious. "What do you want?" Eric whispered, his voice shaking. The answer came not with sound, but with a cold wave of emotion. "You." The survivor woman stepped back in fear. She could feel the danger rising. The walls began to move as if something inside them was awakening. Eric stood up slowly, his legs weak, his breath unsteady. The chamber behind him came alive with red lights, spreading like veins. Something began to crawl out of the walls, something metallic, sharp and angry. The creatures formed from the broken metal, their bodies twisting into shape. Their eyes glowed the same blue as the floating light. Eric felt the choice forming inside him. Run, or stay and face what called him here. He reached for his weapon, his fingers trembling, but ready. The first metal creature let out a scream like grinding steel. The whole hall echoed with its cry. Eric took a step forward, his fear turning into something stronger, a strange courage he did not understand. The blue floating light pulsed once more, and
Everything around him froze. Every creature stopped moving. Every sound died. Even the air stood still. Eric's looked up, his heart pounding. The light spoke inside him again, clearer this time, sharper, more dangerous.